Episode 131, A Visit by Sierra. Harvey heard Sierra's name and frowned. The engagement is over. Why is she still here? The butler shook his head. I don't know. I asked her to sit in the living room and wait for you. Please go and talk to her. I don't believe she will leave otherwise. Harvey was not happy. He had planned to bring Evelyn upstairs to have a taste of her. Who would have thought that this annoying woman would be here? Harvey put Evelyn down and was about to walk into the living room when Evelyn hurriedly grabbed at his shirt. She felt a little embarrassed and said, You have a guest, so I will go and come back another day. Harvey raised his eyebrows and grabbed her hand. You think you found a good excuse to escape, but you can stop that thought because you are staying. Evelyn wasn't trying to escape, but people like Harvey focused on themselves and wouldn't let a little drama like this interrupt their pleasure. Evelyn didn't want to be here with Harvey's ex-fiancé. She must have something to talk to him about, and Evelyn didn't feel like disturbing them. Evelyn pursed her lips and said, I am not in the mood to be part of this pettiness. You appear to have things to discuss with your ex-fiancé, and it is inconvenient for me to be around. Harvey said coldly, There's nothing inconvenient about it. It's better to say. Narrowing his eyes, Harvey continued, You were right. You haven't forgotten what you've done before, have you? Evelyn blinked her eyes blankly. Done before? What are you talking about? Evelyn looked so innocent, blinking her eyes, as Harvey pounced on her. He curled his thin lips and said, Evelyn, it's time for you to do your job. 2 minutes later, Harvey forcefully pulled Evelyn into the living room. Evelyn tried to struggle, but Harvey held her wrist tightly. If she made any movements, Harvey would put pressure on her. Her wrist was fragile and could not withstand the torture. Sierra saw that he still had Evelyn with him and was angry. She had waited for him for hours, but she hadn't expected him to bring this woman with him. Sierra glared at Evelyn as she stood up. She looked at Harvey angrily, feeling wronged. Harvey, I have waited here for you for 2 hours. Why are you with this woman? Harvey said coldly, Our engagement has been canceled. What are you doing here? Sierra held her hands and said anxiously, The engagement has been canceled, but I don't want to end it with you. Harvey, you don't want me because your family chose me, right? I have nothing to do with them now, and it doesn't matter if we don't get married for the time being. Can we start over? Sierra was very confident in her looks, figure, family background, and personal taste. She was hundreds, thousands of times stronger than the woman beside Harvey. As long as she was not someone aligned with his grandmother, she felt she might still earn the right to stand by his side. Harvey frowned and said to Evelyn, It's so troublesome. You take care of it. He hated having to deal with such a stubborn and self-righteous woman, so he threw her to Evelyn. Evelyn didn't like this. Why did she have to deal with Harvey's emotional debts for him? Evelyn said, No, this is your matter. Her voice was soft. Harvey bent down and said in a low voice, If I take care of it myself, I might have to do it with you for 3 days and 3 nights to recover my energy. How was that a recovery of energy? It was simply more energy-consuming. Evelyn was angry. He indeed was unparalleled in shamelessness. In the battle with Harvey, she was defeated this time. She did not want to be captive for 3 days and 3 nights. She didn't know if Harvey could do it for 3 days and 3 nights, but she did not want to find out. After shaking off Harvey's hand, Evelyn took a deep breath, walked in front of Sierra and said, Miss Masterson, right? That you... Who do you think you are? I am talking to Harvey. Why are you interrupting me? Sierra screamed hysterically before Evelyn could say anything. She had worked so hard, and even when she was in such a sorry state, she still could not be granted a chance with Harvey? What right did this woman have to be stepping into that role? Evelyn's body trembled from the scream. She took a step back and said, Please calm down first and listen to me. Evelyn wanted to ask Harvey, what exactly did he do to force Miss Masterson into this state? She had seen women this angry before, almost going mad, and she did not want to witness it again now. In the past, some of Mark's fans would grab her hair and scratch her face. It was so ugly when that occurred. She didn't need a scene like that here, and hoped Sierra would calm down. Evelyn had no idea about what happened to this young lady on the engagement day, so she did not know why she was filled with such anger. "Why should I listen to you? You slut! Why did you come here? I am the one who loves him the most, and I am the one who is destined to marry him. I have learned so many things, etiquette, violin, dance, and everything else because only those who are good enough can be qualified to be his fiancée. How can a woman like me be compared to a woman like you, who only knows how to twist her body in bed to attract men? Get out of here!" Sierra was shaking with anger. Tears fell from her eyes, and she raised her hand and waved it as if dismissing Evelyn. "That's enough," Harvey said. He grabbed Sierra's arm and looked at her coldly. "This is my house, and I have the final say. If you try to rebuke the people I invite here, you will regret it." Sierra was so scared that her face instantly turned white. He twisted her wrist until it started to hurt. Evelyn hurriedly went up to Harvey and said, "Harvey, let go. You are hurting her." At Evelyn's request, Harvey finally dropped Sierra's hand. Sierra was thrown back a few steps. She lowered her head and cried silently. Evelyn sighed and asked her, "Do you know what he likes to eat? What does he enjoy doing? What does he do in his spare time? And what kind of music does he enjoy?" Sierra looked at Evelyn in a daze and was tongue-tied. "What? What does he look like throwing a tantrum? What kind of expression does he show when he is happy, or when he is tired, or when forcing a smile? Do you know any of this?" Evelyn asked calmly. Sierra bit her lower lip, clasped her hands, and said nothing. "I don't know. How did she know all this?" Evelyn also knew that she did not know everything. There is nothing wrong with wanting the person you like wholeheartedly. It is very impressive to see you become so inflexible because of this desire. But at least you should get to know him. He is not a statue. If you want him, you must work hard to get him. Things like love cannot be achieved with just a bunch of achievements. The public persona of Harvey that all the women in New York love is an illusion. No matter how beautiful you think you are just one of a crowd of women trying to garner his attention. If you want to become special, at least do something that makes him think you are special." Sierra's heart trembled. She was not convinced, and she did not want to hear this woman say these things. But she did not know how to retort. She did not know all these things about Harvey. She had never done anything special with him or for him. What about you? Have you ever done anything special for him? Episode 132, Confronting Dolores. Evelyn smiled bitterly. This woman was stubborn. She didn't seem to have any intention to leave. She was trying to excuse her behavior. Honestly, Evelyn didn't know how she would react in a similar situation. What she did know, though, was Harvey, and that alone made her concerned for how this would turn out. She didn't think Sierra had ever done anything special. Had she? Evelyn was the first woman to refuse to be with Harvey, and the first to choose another man over Harvey openly. She might have a leg up on Sierra if this was special enough. However, she could not tell Sierra about this because Harvey was the only one who could make the decision. No one could decide who he wanted or did not want for him. He obviously did not want Sierra, so it was useless, no matter how much she tried to reason with him. But Evelyn knew that if she said something, this woman would have another question ready for her. Harvey suddenly put his arm around Evelyn. Evelyn was pulled back and felt his strong, warm chest. Harvey's voice beside her was firm as he said, "She is special to me, so you should leave quickly." Sierra's countenance was extremely ugly. She had been losing face ever since she first came into contact with Harvey. Until now, she was still the young beauty of the Masterson family. Seeing Harvey holding Evelyn, she took a few steps back and snarled, "I don't care about a man with taste as bad as yours." After Sierra finished speaking, she turned around and ran. Her high heels clapped against the tile as they faded the further she ran. Only Evelyn and Harvey were in the room. Evelyn's face was red. and her heart was beating fast from being hugged so closely to his body. She tilted her head and tried to stay away from him. Go away. Everyone is gone. Harvey's hand slid down. Did you say something cute just now? Evelyn panicked and held his hand that wanted to wreak havoc. She stammered, I don't know what you were talking about. All the women in New York City love me. Harvey bit her earlobe and asked in a low voice. Evelyn was trembling all over, and her legs were so weak that she almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, a big hand on her waist held her upright. Evelyn's face was red, and she was leaning against his chest like a weak rabbit grabbed by a wild wolf. She struggled to retort. You have a pretty big ego, don't you? Harvey smiled and whispered to her, I just like how stubborn you are. Now that no one is here to disturb us, it's time for us to go upstairs. After Harvey finished speaking, he lifted Evelyn as she let out a low cry of surprise. She was already in Harvey's embrace. Carrying her, Evelyn walked towards the second floor. Evelyn's face was red as she struggled gently. I don't want to do this with you. Harvey placed her on a soft bed, kissed her, and wreaked havoc on her body. The clothes fell onto the floor one by one, and the pleasure he invoked in her was an out-of-the-world feeling. Under Harvey's control, Evelyn lost all control. The passage of time had nothing to do with the intensity and beauty of this feeling. He waited for the heat and longing in his body to calm down in this intimate way. Evelyn wrapped herself in a soft blanket and looked out the window. She was exhausted and did not want to move. Harvey leaned over and asked, How are you? Evelyn waited for him. What do you think? No restraint. Just pure lust from you has me exhausted. Harvey stroked her hair and whispered in her ear like a devil. Don't you think this is something to be proud of? You can make such a powerful man as Harvey Cage lose control of himself and treat you like this. Evelyn rolled her eyes. What was there to be proud of? She did not want to be elated by this kind of thing. It would be better to say that she did not wish to have this accolade. Evelyn rolled her eyes at him and pouted. I'm hungry. Harvey laughed and ran his hand down her waist. Didn't I feed you full? You pervert. I am starving. Don't touch me. Evelyn angrily pulled the blanket tighter. What a nuisance. Harvey wanted to continue playing with her, but the housekeeper's panicked voice suddenly came from outside. Sir, your grandmother is here. She is downstairs and is about to come up. Harvey's face turned cold. It was almost 7 o'clock in the evening. The reason why Grandma suddenly came to visit was probably because of Sierra. That woman was not going away easily. Evelyn heard of the old woman's arrival and was shocked. Evelyn remembered that when she sent her steward over last time, she said he was getting married and ordered her not to see Harvey in the future. Evelyn suddenly felt guilty and unconsciously wrapped herself in the blanket. Harvey noticed her movements and mistakenly thought she was afraid. He smiled and leaned over to warm her forehead. He said gently and firmly, Don't be afraid. I will protect you. After Harvey finished speaking, he put on his robe and walked out. Evelyn immediately opened her mouth to call him back, but he was already gone. Evelyn bit her lower lip and frowned. No, Harvey, I'm not scared. If I choose to be with you, I wouldn't be afraid of this kind of trouble. But I'm touched and happy to hear you say you're going to protect me. Evelyn blushed. Although it was embarrassing, it felt amazing to be protected by him. Evelyn hurriedly shook her head. She knew that now was not the time to let imagination run wild. She hastily picked up the clothes on the ground and put them on. She wondered what Harvey and his grandmother would talk about. It probably wouldn't be a good thing. It was indeed not a positive thing. Harvey blocked his grandmother at the bottom of the stairs. He looked at her coldly and said, Why did you come here this time? I have already retired for the evening. The old woman spat out with a cold face. Get out of my way. Harvey said expressionlessly, There is an important guest upstairs. If you have anything to say, say it here. Important guest? I don't know where this woman came from. I've already tolerated you ruining the engagement. But I can't tolerate a disrespectful woman who doesn't know about the relationship between the Masterson and Cage families. You brought that woman here to humiliate Sierra. Do you think you can settle the matter this way?" His grandmother reprimanded Harvey sternly. Harvey glanced at her coldly and said, "It was I who humiliated her. It has nothing to do with this woman. Sierra kept bugging me after the engagement had been broken. So what if I humiliated her?" The slap landed on Harvey's face quickly and fiercely. Mrs. Cage waited for him to shout at her, but he didn't. "You are an idiot to choose to protect that kind of woman. Do you want to give away your position as CEO to protect her? You dare to say such stupid words to me here and still think you have the right to sit on that chair?" Harvey frowned. The more this old woman hit him, the easier it was for him. Although he was already used to this kind of thing, he still felt angry and bored. "Have you said enough? If you're done, you can leave, as you can't find any problems with my work. The company is developing better in my hands than it would in the hands of your old fogies. That's all you need. My private life has nothing to do with you. If you don't want to be humiliated, don't come near me." What a ridiculous woman Sierra is. She came to me to insult me, and when that didn't work, she went to snitch on me. I wouldn't get in bed with such a disgusting woman. Harvey was furious when he thought about Sierra complaining and dragging the innocent Evelyn down with her. He had hoped Evelyn could humiliate her, but she was not that kind of woman. His grandmother was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She raised her hand to hit Harvey again, but Harvey did not dodge it. After all, he had said that he was prepared to receive this slap. If he fought back, he would be entrenched in this mess again. So if she felt like beating him up, he would stand and take it. "Don't hit him!" Evelyn suddenly shouted. Harvey frowned and turned around. He saw Evelyn rushing down the corridor. Harvey felt a headache coming on. Ugh, why did she come out? Did Evelyn want his grandmother to cause trouble for her? The last time she confronted Dolores, things didn't turn out well for Evelyn. What would be the consequences of her challenging the old matriarch's authority? Episode 133, Mark of Authority. Evelyn ran to stand in front of Harvey. She stood 1 inch taller than Dolores. Evelyn stubbornly asked, "You originally wanted to hit me, didn't you? Take this slap." Harvey frowned and reached out his hand to pull her behind him. "It has nothing to do with you. Don't cause trouble. Go back to our room." Dolores sneered. "You have courage, but you don't care about my grandson. The last time my servant went to look for you, you told him that you were getting married and wouldn't show up here again. Why are you still after him? Sure enough, lowly people like you love to cause problems." "Are you done?" Harvey asked coldly. He grabbed Evelyn's wrist and asked, "What happened? Why didn't you tell me about them seeking you out?" Evelyn looked at Harvey and calmly said, "That's my business, and it has nothing to do with you." She turned to Dolores and said firmly, "I may not be as rich as you, and I do not wish to be so if being rich means harming people or being as vile as I have witnessed you being here. I did say I was to be married, but I blew it up." "What a clever girl. Since you want to be slapped, take this slap properly. I will not bother about you and him humiliating Sierra." Dolores sneered. She turned the ring on her left hand and pointed the sharp ruby ring towards her palm. Evelyn nodded and said defiantly, "I will take it." Harvey was angry. He glared at Evelyn and said, "I told you this has nothing to do with you. If you don't want to stay in the bedroom, go back to your own house. Don't cause trouble here." What the hell is this woman thinking? Evelyn looked at him, reached out her hand, and held his tightly. "How sad, Harvey. She is your grandmother, but she is not on your side. You always take too much on yourself. But it doesn't matter. From now on, I will stand by your side unconditionally." She did not know what it was like to be treated like this by her family. Her family had always been warm in her memory, so she did not know Harvey's pain. but she was sure he was suffering. Evelyn believed that no one's heart was naturally made of stone. If Harvey had no feelings, no heart, because in the years when he grew up, the poor heart, once burning with passion, must have been cut by someone again and again. So to protect himself, he could only turn his heart to stone so that it could not be pierced again. Harvey stood rooted to the ground, his pupils dilated and enlarged. Ever since he was a child, he hated people looking down on him. Since he was a boy, everyone had been on the old woman's side. Why did he now feel that Evelyn was like a hero standing in front of him? It made his cold stone heart soften. This was the first time anyone had ever confronted the old woman like this, saying that they would stand by his side unconditionally. Could it be that the excitement in his heart was a feeling of joy? It was a strange feeling, but it didn't seem bad. "Shut your mouth, you ignorant wild girl!" A slap came whistling over, and a sharp pain cut across her face. Evelyn bit her lower lip hard, but she did not cry out. After Dolores slapped her, the old woman said, "Let's go." Dolores left with the steward. Harvey quickly came back to his senses and leaned over to check Evelyn's condition, and Evelyn was quick to cover her face. Harvey frowned. "How is it? Let me see. Is it red or swollen?" Evelyn did not speak. She was in so much pain that she could not utter a word. It was already very difficult to control her trembling. She did not know what the grandmother had used to hit her, but the pain was excruciating. She could not let Harvey see it now, or he would fly into a rage. However, Harvey already felt that something was wrong with her pale face, putting on a brave cover. "Let me see your face. Take your hand away." Harvey pulled her hand away with a grim face. The blood on Evelyn's face and hands made Harvey quake. The shocking gash almost destroyed half of her pretty face. Harvey looked at her face in shock. That damned old woman! How did she manage to injure someone to such an extent with a single slap? Harvey thought of the ruby ring the old woman always wore on her finger. Damn it! I will not let that old witch go! Harvey was so angry that he turned around to chase after her. Evelyn quickly grabbed his arm and whispered, pale and trembling, "Don't go. It's already over." It was over. Evelyn didn't want to make a scene. "But your face. We can't just let it go like this." Harvey gritted his teeth. It had nothing to do with her. Why should she suffer such a thing? Her pretty face would be disfigured if it was not treated quickly. Evelyn took a deep breath. It hurt badly. She trembled as she pulled him. "Please, can you treat the wound first?" Harvey looked at her pale face and picked her up. He shouted, "Call the doctor and bring the first aid kit!" He carried Evelyn back to the bedroom and put her on the bed. Soon, a servant brought the first aid kit into the room, and Harvey took soft cotton rounds to clean the wound on her face. As he cleaned her up, Harvey's heart ached as he asked softly, "Does it hurt?" Evelyn blinked her eyes. This was the first time she had seen Harvey show such concern. This kind of undistinguished worry on that charming but brutal face made Evelyn's heart ache. Evelyn smiled and said, "It doesn't hurt." "Liar," Harvey replied in disbelief. "It looks so painful. Don't laugh, it will hurt more if you stretch it." How could it not hurt? He was shocked to see the damage himself. Harvey could not understand how she could still smile and say that it did not hurt. He could not even comprehend why she had to take such a slap. He could not understand what this woman was thinking. As he carefully wiped the blood off her face, Harvey thought about many things. Evelyn reached out her hand from under the blanket and gently tugged at his sleeve. Harvey came back to his senses and turned back to her. Evelyn's forehead was covered with sweat. She trembled and said, "The skin on my face is too fragile, and my teeth are trembling uncontrollably. Give me something to bite on." Her teeth were chattering against each other, and her whole body shook. Evelyn felt that she would probably cramp up if she continued to twitch like this. This slap was vicious, even more so than she had thought. She could almost guess that it was a ring now. Sharp diamonds could probably cut people like this. Harvey saw her pale face and rolled up the sleeve of his shirt. He put his arm in front of her and said, "Bite it." Evelyn was stunned for a moment and then pouted. I'm not hungry.
You can still joke when you are in so much pain. That makes you no ordinary person. Hurry up and bite. Today's circumstances especially allow you to bite harder. If you have any complaints, take the opportunity to vent your anger.
Harvey put his arm on Evelyn's mouth when he finished speaking. Evelyn hesitated for a moment. When she thought about how this man always had the upper hand, regardless of what happened, a bad feeling welled up, and Evelyn bit down on him. Her teeth stopped chattering, and Harvey was already cleaning her, waiting for the doctor to come and bandage her. Evelyn bit Harvey and looked at his serious face, lost in thought. She wanted to say that biting his arm wouldn't work, because this man's wrist was as hard as iron. It wasn't soft, and the texture was rough and laden with hair. However, it seemed like he cared a lot about her wound. Forget it. She wasn't going to argue with him anymore. Time passed silently. About 10 minutes later, the private doctor arrived. He disinfected Evelyn and bandaged her up before leaving. After being bandaged, half of Evelyn's face looked like a bun. The gauze wrapped around her chin and tied a rabbit's ear to her head at Harvey's request made her look cute, despite the terrible circumstances. Evelyn sat on the bed, and Harvey sat on the edge. Harvey had been silent all this while. His silence made Evelyn feel uncomfortable, and she couldn't help but make a joke. Although I'm not an angel, I pride myself on an angelic face. After this kind of situation, we definitely can't say that anymore. Harvey frowned. He turned his back to her and said in a muffled voice, "Your face isn't my type anyway. I don't care what you look like." Your words are so unkind, but I know what type you like. The classic combination is stunning eyes, sexy red lips, fair skin, and beautiful long legs. You also need to have a real C cup or above, preferably a D cup.
You know everything,
Harvey said. Evelyn pulled a long face and did not dare to laugh anymore. After all, I am a former paparazzi member. Harvey tilted his head and looked at her. His eyes were cold and severe.
Do you think I will show you mercy?
Evelyn widened her eyes and looked at him blankly. Thump. The sound of her heartbeat echoed in the silent room. Evelyn was tongue-tied and could not say a word. He must be joking with her. She had just looked in the mirror, and she looked so strange. How could a man be interested in her? Harvey got on the bed and got closer to her. He got closer and closer until he was right in front of her. In a deep, husky voice, he said,
"Your face is not my type, nor is your figure. Yet our compatibility is high. Due to that, I feel your face is not bad, and your body is attractive. But I seem to have made a mistake."
Evelyn's breathing quickened and her thoughts were muddled. What's this guy saying? Harvey reached out his hand and grabbed her hand, pressing it on the most essential part of a man's body, letting her feel it. Harvey put his lips close to hers. His voice was charming, like warm honey make inside heat up. He had the power to confuse her.
I also feel that it's extraordinary. You are acting strangely right now, so why am I still reacting?
Evelyn tried to pull her hand back as if she had been electrocuted, but Harvey held her hand down firmly. Evelyn's face was red and her face hurt, but now that the heat was rising, the pain worsened. No, this was strange. Harvey continued to approach her.
It doesn't seem to have anything to do with your face or body. Evelyn, is it because you are Evelyn that you make me feel like this?
He really couldn't understand. He had done it many times before, but why was it still like this? This was intolerable. Harvey's heart was beating faster, blood boiling, and he felt like he was going crazy. What was the reason for this? If the impulse in the heart was not lust, then what was it? Episode 134, Harvey Can't Bear It Anymore. Evelyn, it is neither because of your face nor your figure that my body craves you so much, but because you are simply remarkable. I can't bear it anymore. Let go. Don't say anything you don't mean. Evelyn turned her face away, not daring to look at his mesmerizing eyes.
She was afraid that she would be consumed if she gazed into those eyes. After Harvey had thought for a while, he approached Evelyn and bit her earlobe.
I can't take it anymore.
Evelyn was scared to death and forcefully pulled her hand back. She blushed and waited for him. What are you thinking? I am now injured and can't even speak properly. You'd better stop it. Evelyn spoke indignantly and tried her best to resist Harvey's charm. She lamented in her heart how unlucky she was to have to face him when she was injured. Harvey stared at her with his dark eyes. He suddenly raised his hand and turned off the light. Only the moonlight showed through the darkness. Harvey took off his bathrobe and said in a low voice, "Then look at me. I'll do it myself." Evelyn wanted to die. She didn't want to see such a thing. Don't do this kind of odd thing when I'm hurt. Stop. I don't want to look. Evelyn hurriedly covered her eyes and she wanted to cry. She doesn't want it. Covering her eyes in the darkness, she could no longer see or feel anything. However, the more she did so, the more sensitive her ears became. A moment later, there was a strange sound in the room. Evelyn didn't know what to do anymore. Before this shameless guy, her mind was a mess. Her head had turned into a ball of mush. She bit her lower lip and her body trembled from Harvey's voice. Who told her that it was Harvey? He was a demon who could cause people to fall into depravity. Evelyn slowly removed her hand from her eyes and opened them in shame. That comfortable, handsome face in the dark made her body go soft. Harvey licked his lower lip and smiled evilly. He approached her and ordered in a hoarse voice, "Kissing you will make the wound on your face worse. So take off your clothes. I want to kiss somewhere else." Evelyn looked like she was possessed. She trembled as she undid her buttons. The thin summer gauze slid down her shoulders. Her fair skin was bright red because he had planted a bite mark on it earlier. It wasn't easy to look at it now, but not difficult enough to discourage him. He wanted to leave more marks on her. Harvey leaned forward and kissed her on the neck. Evelyn's breathing was rapid. She felt that this was not normal, and she must have gone mad to do this with Harvey despite her injury. After everything was over, Evelyn lay on the bed and drifted into unconsciousness. She was not too pure, having lived more than 20 years. Despite that, Harvey was the first man she had ever met who was a devil in the bedroom. How could a rookie like her handle this? She just let nature take its course and did it without batting an eyelid, no matter what he proposed.
"Are you hungry? Do you want to eat?"
Harvey asked as he walked out of the bathroom after taking a shower. When he saw Evelyn's prone body, he leaned over and stared at her. Evelyn rolled her teary eyes in his direction and said, "Please get me the best dish. I want to enjoy my food." Harvey curled his lips and said,
"You won't be stuffed to death with me here. For the sake of your face, you can't eat anything too greasy. But I will let the staff below make the best food."
Evelyn nodded, thinking that this guy still had some conscience after all. After Harvey said he was going to ask the staff to cook, Evelyn did not know what happened. She suddenly reached out her hand to hold him. Harvey looked back at her, and Evelyn tilted her head to look at him and said, "About my face. Promise me to let it end now." She was worried because Harvey was a person who would get his revenge. She was afraid that he would look to settle the score with his grandmother. She chose to be slapped in the first place because she didn't want him to argue with Dolores. Harvey watched as she worriedly moved her hands from him and put them under the blanket. He asked,
"Do you know what you look like when you're in front of me?"
Evelyn blinked her eyes. "A trapped rabbit?"
"You were so stupid."
Harvey smiled and rubbed her hair, showing a gentle smile that no one had ever seen before.
"You are a hero. You are as brave as the Knights of the Round Table. I can't help but think that Evelyn is very handsome and would have been an amazing knight."
His smile was pure and bright, like an angel's. For a moment, no matter if it was the moon or the stars that filled the sky, they all lost their luster. Only his smile was able to dazzle her eyes. Evelyn was stunned. "Stop time. At this moment. I want to keep this man's smile as it is, and I think for this smile I could walk through fire, shatter my bones, or fly into a flame. Perhaps my love will become even more profound than this. Just smile at me a little longer. Oh my God, do you know how happy that smile of yours makes me? Harvey, you look so good when you smile like this, Evelyn said. Harvey put his hand on his chin and approached her. He looked at her with deep eyes and asked, "Do you like my smile?" Evelyn nodded her head in confusion and obedience. She liked it when he smiled like that. Harvey raised his eyebrows. "Then stay by my side. If you are by my side, I believe that my smile would bloom every day like today. I believe that you can make me smile like this." Evelyn blinked, but did not say anything. Harvey stood up and walked out. Evelyn looked at his back, and then at the ceiling, pouting slightly. Evelyn thought Harvey was not smiling insincerely. He would smile when he showed his emotions, which meant that he must have smiled like this in the past. Where did that time go? Perhaps Harvey, now cold and arrogant, had not been like this before. She clenched her hands tightly. The thought of the old woman who had used Ruby to cut her face made Evelyn furious. His grandmother had treated Harvey like a tool and made him do as she pleased. Perhaps this woman caused Harvey, who once had an angelic smile, to change completely. Ugh, disgustingly bad woman. I won't let you hurt him as you please in the future. Not with me here. Harvey arranged for someone to prepare the dishes and walked into the study room. Harvey took out his phone and called Zach. Zach picked up immediately. "Sir, is there an emergency?" Harvey said coldly, "Zach, ask the people to cause Sierra to have an accident that will put her in the hospital for a long time. It would be best to be staged fully as an accident that can't be traced back to us, but it must leave a scar on her left cheek. The longer the scar, the better." Zach furrowed his brows. This was the first time Harvey had found trouble with a woman and been so explicit about how to hurt her. Zach would bet that this was most likely related to Evelyn, so he didn't ask too much. He nodded and said, "All right, I will handle it. Don't worry, sir. It will be done flawlessly." "I trust you," Harvey said. He paused for a second and said, "Zach, I will do my best to help you." After Harvey finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Zach was a little dumbfounded as he held the phone in his hand. Why did Harvey suddenly make up his mind to help him? What exactly happened? In the study, Harvey held his phone tightly. He still did not know what it felt like to have that crazy feeling. He still did not understand what drove people to be so desperate. But when Evelyn held his hand tightly, he didn't want to be apart from her. He wanted to stay together forever, and he wanted to hold her hand tightly and experience this connection deeply. He desired to see a happy ending, so he wanted to help Raquel and Zach. Of course, it was also because he wanted to take revenge on that old crone and not let her have a good ending. After staying in the study for a while, Harvey went back to his room and said, "The food is ready. Do you want to eat here or go downstairs?" Evelyn said, "I don't have the strength to go downstairs." Harvey nodded, ordered the things to be brought up, and placed them on the bedroom table. Harvey flipped on the television to select a movie and said, "What do you want to watch?" Evelyn thought and said, "Leon, the Professional." Harvey raised his eyebrows. "You like old movies? Do you always watch old movies like this?" Evelyn nodded and got out of bed. She walked over, sat down on the sofa and said, "I like watching baseball games and old movies. I especially love baseball. There's probably a live broadcast tonight, but I can't watch it. If I get excited, I don't know how painful the wound on my face will become." Harvey, who was beside her, narrowed his cold eyes. "Really? What do you like other than old movies and baseball?" Evelyn was startled and turned her head to look at him. Her heart skipped a beat. Harvey looked at her with interest and said, "Tell me more about what you like and hate." Evelyn immediately lowered her head. Her face was red and her heart was beating erratically. As she fiddled with her clothes, Evelyn said awkwardly, "I don't know right now." She did not know what to say when he suddenly asked her the question. Her head was a mess as she felt her blood run hot. Her body felt light and she was dizzy. Harvey wanted to find out about her. She was so happy. Harvey smiled as if he had seen through her thoughts. He pushed the food in front of her and said, "If you don't know how to answer, you can eat while listening to my questions. Before this meal is over, you have to answer honestly, whatever I ask you."
Evelyn wanted to retort, but she bit her lip and tried her best to restrain her meaningless resistance. Seriously, she was very happy. Why did she have to resist all the time? Harvey was domineering and did not give her the chance to refuse. He already said,
"Do you like small animals? Kitten, puppy, rabbit?"
"Oh, little kittens."
"What is your favorite color? I know as a designer there are a lot of colors you like, but which one is your favorite?"
"I like," Evelyn said. She hoped that this meal would slow down. Then when Harvey had no more questions, she would turn the tables and ask him some. Like what he enjoyed and hated most. Evelyn wanted to know everything. Early in the morning the next day, Evelyn sat up in a daze when she woke up in the unfamiliar bed. Harvey was beside her. He reached out his hand and pulled her toward his chest.
"Do you have to get up? Go back to sleep. It's the weekend."
Evelyn rubbed her eyes and muttered, "But I heard my phone vibrate." Evelyn listened carefully. Indeed, her phone was still vibrating. Evelyn hurriedly grabbed her phone. When she saw Mark's name on it, Evelyn felt as if she felt her heart thundering against her ribs. She woke fully from her sleep, jumped out of bed, and ran to the restroom for privacy. This wasn't good. It was the weekend, but she was not home. If Mark went to the house, she would be exposed. Oh, what a fool she was! She should not have spent the night with Harvey. "Hello, Mark," Evelyn answered. Mark's voice came through.
"Sis, are you home today? I have something to talk to you about this afternoon."
When Evelyn heard him say this, she let out a slight sigh. "In the afternoon? Sure, I will be there. What do you want to discuss with me?" Mark hesitated before saying,
"I'll tell you when I get there."
Evelyn held her phone and blinked. What was it that he wanted to talk about? Episode 135. It was her mistake. When Evelyn opened the bathroom door, a slender figure blocked her way. Evelyn jumped in fright and looked up at Harvey's unhappy face. Evelyn curled her lips. "Don't scare me so early in the morning." Harvey raised his eyebrows.
"It's a blessing for you to see me so handsome in the morning. Tell me, who were you talking with?"
Evelyn rolled her eyes helplessly. Why did she have this feeling of being cheating? "I was on the phone with my brother. We have to meet in the afternoon. Get out of the way. I need to get ready to leave." Evelyn pushed him and slipped away from him. Harvey furrowed his brows. Regarding her younger brother, there was much to do and many mysteries to be solved. He would ask Zach about it tomorrow, Monday.
"If you go back, have you thought about how to explain the gauze on your face to him?"
Harvey looked at her and asked. Evelyn froze and then reached out her hand to touch her face. Oh, this wasn't good. Mark had no idea that she had been injured like this, and he might do something when he saw her face, given his fiery temper.
"You have realized your stupidity,"
Harvey said, nodding. Evelyn panicked and quickly turned around to grab him. "Tell me what kind of lie I should tell to make him believe me."
"If you beg me, I will tell you."
"I don't need your help then."
"Really? What if something happens because he gets mad?"
Evelyn was silent for a moment. She felt that Mark's temper would be too much to bear. Evelyn could only lower her head to Harvey in humiliation for her helplessness. Both she and Harvey seemed to have forgotten who gave her this injury. He loved making fun of Evelyn. He would never let go of an opportunity to tease her. Just like that, Harvey gave Evelyn an excuse. She had slipped on a rainy street and caught her face on a wire fence alongside the path. She could say that it was sterilized and the gauze could not be removed so that it could heal. Evelyn couldn't help but admire Harvey, the king of liars. When they left, Harvey packed some ointment for her and told her to apply it regularly. Harvey held Evelyn's face and kissed her on the lips.
"I'll call you later. You're welcome to come to my place anytime. Next time we meet, let's have a date somewhere."
Evelyn's face turned red. Why did she feel like she had tasted honey? She kept feeling that his voice was filled with sweetness. I'm leaving. Goodbye, Evelyn said, blushing. She turned around and ran away as she suddenly felt shy. Harvey stood in front of the French window and watched as Evelyn was picked up by a taxi. Harvey couldn't help but start thinking about Mark again in his heart.
Recently, Mark has become more of a problem. Harvey didn't want Evelyn to see him, even though they were brother and sister. He wanted to tie Evelyn up in his house. That way, she wouldn't meet anyone, and she would just stay by his side obediently. After Evelyn got home, she made it look like she had indeed slept at home last night and waited for Mark to come back. Mark had hesitated for a few days before deciding to talk to her. Of course, the topic of the discussion was Timothy. Timothy's health was no longer a problem, so it was time to talk to her about the future. Mark stood downstairs and took a deep breath. He gathered his courage and went upstairs. Today, he would give her the reasons he didn't think she and Timothy were suitable for each other. He had to stop them. Mark opened the door and said as calmly as he could, "Evelyn, I'm back." "Mark, good to see you," Evelyn said happily. A shadow crossed his face. Mark looked at her and was scared out of his mind. "Evelyn, what happened to your face? Why are you wrapped in gauze?" Mark rushed to her in horror and carefully held her face as he asked anxiously. Evelyn saw his shocked and worried look. She could not help but laugh and said, "It's fine. I'm sorry that I was careless and I slipped in the rain and cut my face on a fence on the side of the road." "Why are you so careless?" Mark felt his heart ache. As he grumbled, he pulled her hand and sat on the sofa. Although he couldn't touch her, he kept staring at her. He frowned and said, "Why didn't you tell me?" Evelyn felt guilty and covered her face with her hand. "I didn't want to make a fuss about nothing. This injury will heal in no time." Evelyn was internally apologizing to Mark. "Mark, forgive me for being a liar. I'm sorry for making you so worried." Mark's heart ached so much. Evelyn's skin was soft and tender. She wasn't the one with the tough flesh. What would he do if it left a scar? Mark frowned and asked worriedly, "Does it hurt? Have you taken medicine? How about we go to the hospital and have them check you out so it doesn't leave any scars?" Evelyn quickly waved her hand and said, "It's okay. The doctor said that it's no big deal. I will go back to the doctor in 2 days to recheck it. After a few days, there will be no need to bandage the gauze anymore. He recommended a few days covered with ointment because of the rust." The more Evelyn lied, the more skilled she became. In her heart, she couldn't help but admire herself. She was the queen of lies this evening. She was even more meticulous with the details than in real life. Feeling weak, Evelyn instinctively changed the topic before Mark continued asking questions. "Mark, didn't you say you wanted to talk to me about something? What is it?" Mark nodded. It was hard for him to say anything, but he had to broach the topic. Mark took a deep breath and made up his mind. As he was about to start talking, his eyes fell on Evelyn's hand. Mark was stunned. She never wore the ring before. So that means... Mark grabbed Evelyn's hand and his expression changed. He asked in a cold voice, "What does this ring mean? Did Timothy give it to you?" Evelyn was startled when she saw his cold eyes. She nervously pulled her hand back. His gaze was also a bit strange and scary. The last time she had told him that she would be with Timothy, he had given her such a scary look. What was going on? Why did she sometimes feel like she didn't even know her brother? She hated the feeling that her brother, whom she had spent so much time with, would sometimes scare her. "Mark, what happened to you all of a sudden?" Mark grabbed her hand excitedly and said, "I asked you a question. Did Timothy give you this ring? What did you and Timothy do? Have you made a personal promise? What kind of ring is this? A ring to propose marriage? How can this be? How can you leave me? How can you be with that man? How can you marry him? It's not fair to me. Mark, my hand, it hurts." Evelyn's lips turned white and her hand turned red. Mark's hands were powerful, and Evelyn could not bear it. Mark realized he had hurt her again and quickly let go of her hand. He clenched his fist and pursed his lips to control his emotions. "Don't be angry. Don't be impulsive. It would hurt her or frighten her." Evelyn covered her aching hand and looked sideways at Mark's stubborn face. She blinked her eyes and a question suddenly appeared in Evelyn's mind. Why? Why was Mark so upset about her being with Timothy? Timothy should be the best choice if he were really afraid of losing her to some wrong man. He knew Timothy well enough to know that he was not a bad person. He had been obstructing her, hoping that she would not fall in love with him before graduating. He had always said that she only needed him. Is it just loneliness? "Mark, don't you want me to be happy?" Evelyn looked at him and asked. Mark was shocked. He looked at her anxiously and said, "How could you ask me that? Of course I want you to be happy. I want you to be the happiest person in the world." Evelyn stared at him with her teary eyes, and a bold idea emerged in her heart. She had to test him. "If I think my marriage with Timothy is the best thing for me, will you also give me your blessings because you are my younger brother? I want to share this happiness with you," Evelyn said. "No," Mark roared. He was so agitated that Evelyn trembled. Mark was also stunned after he shouted. He covered his mouth and looked at Evelyn. Her frightened eyes made him panic. "No, it's not that. Evelyn, listen to me. I don't think Timothy is suitable for you. You sympathize with him. That's not love, and you will meet better people in the future. So now is not the time to decide your future," Mark said. Evelyn's heart was beating very fast. Facing Mark, she didn't know what to do. Cindy had always said that Mark was very serious about her in an odd manner, but she did not take it to heart. However, recently, things seemed to be getting out of hand. A date at a temple fair, a kiss on the baseball field, and his current objections. Now that I think about it, it's unusual. He was earnest, probably more dependent than he thought. "Mark, I will not marry Timothy. This ring is only a commemorative ring. Timothy could not even remember me because of the surgery. Our relationship is over now," Evelyn said. Mark was stunned for a second. Then he leaned back on the sofa and let out a long sigh of relief. "What? It would have helped if you had told me earlier. Don't scare me like that." A pair of eyes narrowed, and Mark instantly turned back into her bubbly younger brother. The smile on his lips was very bright and beautiful. But Evelyn could not smile. She could not smile at all. It was bizarre. When he heard that she would marry someone, he looked like he was going crazy. He immediately returned to normal when he heard that she wouldn't get married. It is too strange. Evelyn stood up with a pale face and grabbed his shoulder with a trembling hand. Mark's smile froze at the corner of his mouth. In confusion, he looked at Evelyn. "What happened to you?" Evelyn took a step back. She looked at Mark and said, "Mark, please give me some time, as I'm confused and need to calm down." She was already a mess. She had always regarded Mark as her younger brother, indulging in his affairs and pampering him. She had always thought that this was what an elder sister should do because he was her only brother. But why hadn't she noticed that Mark was getting off track? It wasn't normal. She had always been accommodating of her brother not having a girlfriend, even kissing her. This kind of thing was completely wrong, though. It was her mistake. It was all her fault. Episode 136, Evelyn Calls Luke. Evelyn was so scared that her whole body was trembling. Mark saw her frightened look and his heart jumped. He stood up stiffly and softly said, "Evelyn, what happened to you? Don't look like this. Why don't we sit down and talk if you have something to say?" "No, don't look at me like this. It scares me," Mark thought. "I don't want to be hated by you. Why do you look at me like that?" Mark stepped forward and Evelyn yelled, "Don't come over here." She took a step back and ran toward her room. Mark saw her move toward her room, so he ran to her and hugged her from behind. "Don't run. Why do you have to turn around and run away with that expression on your face? Did I do something wrong? If I did anything wrong, you could scold me, but why do you try to avoid me like this? If I did something wrong, I would change it. Please don't abandon me." The arm that hugged her tightly trembled. Evelyn heard his almost wailing plea and her heart suddenly hurt. What was wrong with him? He had always been so good and always had a bright smile. He should have had a lot of trouble, but he never said anything. On rainy nights, when she was afraid, he would come to her from school in the rain. He wasn't bad at all. "I'm sorry, Mark. You're not wrong. I don't blame you. I'm just scared." Evelyn looked back at him sadly. Her eyes were filled with despair. "You're my only brother, my only family. I'm thinking about what wrong I have done to make you like this." Mark was stunned. Evelyn pulled her hand away and returned to the room without looking back. This time, Mark did not try to stop her. He stood there in a daze as he looked at the closed door. It was indeed time for her to discover that something was amiss. It was already too late for her not to learn at this moment. However, he had never thought of countermeasures for this day. He had never thought that, according to Evelyn's character, she would blame all his mistakes on herself. Lowering his head, Mark closed his eyes and smiled bitterly. I know I've always been your family, your brother. But can I not have this new identity? Evelyn, can we not be family? Can I not be your brother? I want to be with the woman I love like a normal man, but how can I tell you? After standing in front of the door for a long time, Mark finally spoke to the person inside with difficulty. I won't be back for a month. I'm sorry, Evelyn, this is not your fault. You've been right from the beginning. Mark left after he finished speaking. Evelyn stayed in the room. She wanted to open the door and hug Mark, just like every time he was down. Holding him, comforting him, telling him she was always with him. But now she was afraid to do it. She was fearful that it would only go in a more twisted direction if she did. His love was not as pure as she had once thought. He might be sick, but that could be a mental disease. Her brother had a bright future ahead of him. If he destroyed everything because of her, she did not know how to live with herself. Evelyn's mind was a mess. She was confused and didn't know who to ask for help. Cindy was currently taking care of Timothy, so Evelyn didn't have a single person in whom she could confide. If she told Harvey and wanted to know what he would do, he would find Mark to settle the score. Things would become very chaotic. Thinking of this, Evelyn suddenly thought of a person. Luke. Right! Luke could help her. Although she was embarrassed to trouble him every time, Luke was a good person to talk to. He was calm and mature, so he would be able to help her analyze things. Evelyn hesitated for a moment and finally called him. She had not called him since she saved this number on her phone. When the phone rang on the other end, Luke was in a meeting. The new company had just started operating, and he had been very busy. The phone vibrated. Luke had intended to ignore the call, but when he saw that it was Evelyn, he was stunned. He said to everyone, "This meeting is over for today. We will continue tomorrow morning." Today was the first time she had taken the initiative to call him. It was also the first time she had spoken to him after so many coincidences between them. After that, he turned around and went to answer the phone. The corner of Thomas's mouth twitched. Someone beside him said, "Who's calling? The mayor seems to be very concerned about this call." Thomas pushed his glasses and said expressionlessly, "It should be the higher-ups. Otherwise, he wouldn't have suspended the meeting." "Oh, you're right. The mayor is so competitive, and we can't just admit defeat. We have to work hard." However, the subtext in Thomas's heart was not as optimistic. Luke had picked up the phone call from a woman. Judging from his high spirits, it must be that troublesome Miss Evelyn. Thomas estimated that he was already in the parking lot by now. Thomas was indeed the person who knew Luke the best. Luke had already arrived at the parking lot. On the other side of the phone call, Evelyn said worriedly, "Did I disturb your work by calling you out of the blue? If you don't have time, we can talk another day." Luke smiled gently and said, "No, I have time. When you called, it was perfect timing. I had just finished my work. Can I pick you up if it's convenient? I happen to remember the way to your house." "Thank you," Evelyn said gratefully. She was determined to treat him to dinner. Luke hung up the phone. For some reason, he was in a good mood. Although she only said she had something to discuss with him, it made him feel very happy and wished that he could fly to her side. It was a strange feeling, but not unpleasant. After getting into the car, Luke drove to Evelyn's house. He passed by a black Rolls-Royce Phantom along the way, and Mark was sitting in it. Luke was startled. Did he see it wrong? Why would Mark be in a car like that? Luke shook his head. He did not pursue the matter further and continued driving. After all, that guy was mysterious to begin with, and he was a smart guy, so there was nothing to be surprised about. Mark was in a bad mood. Ray said, "Sir, the latest news is that something happened in Quinn's territory a few times recently, and it has already caused dissatisfaction in that area. He has also been under pressure, and there are rumors from the outside world. His credibility has been greatly reduced, and he probably can't hold on much longer. This was what Mark had been looking forward to, but he wasn't happy, or even in a slightly better mood. All he wanted now was to turn this city upside down. The blood in his body was boiling, and he wished to smell some spilled blood tonight. Only the smell of blood could calm his restless heart. However, he had to control himself. He couldn't go on a rampage. Mark closed his eyes and said, "Is that so? Well, this is good. We will wait for Quinn to find us. He will take the initiative to negotiate with us." "Yes, boss." Ray nodded and went back to work. Almost at the same time, Mark's phone rang. Mark's face turned pale when he saw the phone. Episode 137, Confides in Luke. Quinn was calling Mark. It seemed like he couldn't help but want to reconcile, but chose the worst opportunity. Calling Mark when he was in the worst mood was asking for death. Mark picked up the phone and walked out. He knew Quinn must have wanted to talk to him. He still wanted to annex other organizations, but he was in control of the recent turmoil, not Quinn. It was around 4 in the afternoon. Evelyn and Luke were sitting in the coffee shop. Luke looked at Evelyn and was utterly shocked. What's going on? Evelyn realized that there was still a wound on her face. She hurriedly said, "It was a fall. I'm a little clumsy. It's fine. I've already been to the hospital." Luke frowned and asked, "Are you okay?" Evelyn smiled bitterly. "I'm really fine. It was just a small little thing." Luke finally let out a sigh of relief. He was really scared. He was so frightened that his old personality, hidden in his heart, almost came out. "I have to trouble you, Luke. I really can't find anyone to discuss this with." After a few twists and turns, they ordered 2 cups of coffee. Luke sat across from Evelyn and listened to her talk. Luke smiled and shook his head. "It's fine. I'm glad that you've come to me to discuss this. I'm quite happy that you've finally taken a step forward from stranger to possible friend. So, how can I help you?" Evelyn bit her lip and said, "I think, Luke, that you are calm and mature. Maybe I would not feel so helpless if I shared with you everything that's troubling me." She could only talk to Luke about Mark. If she found someone else who used to have a good relationship with Mark, they might find this topic strange and uncomfortable. She did not want to make people feel uncomfortable about Mark. She had an inexplicable trust in Luke, probably because he was a very good and gentlemanly person. Evelyn felt that if she spoke to Luke, he wouldn't treat her relationship with Mark as unusual. "Since you trust me so much, there's no need to be polite. If you have any troubles, tell me," Luke said gently. Evelyn held the coffee and said, "It's about my brother. My parents died, and my brother and I always relied on each other for survival. My brother is wonderful and has always stuck with me. But recently, I feel that things have become somewhat uncontrollable." Luke's heart skipped a beat. He didn't expect it to be about her brother. Luke smiled bitterly in his heart. He felt that he could roughly guess what was going on because he knew everything about these 2 people. Luke said, "Did something happen?" Evelyn nervously held the cup and hesitated to think of a suitable explanation. Evelyn said, "His reliance on me seems a little too much. When I am with other men, he loses his temper. When he thought I would marry another man, his reaction was even more extreme." Luke smiled bitterly and sighed in his heart. "Of course, because he never thought of you as an older sister. He always thought of the relationship between you 2 as different from simply brother and sister. He saw the person he liked was with another man, so he went crazy." With a thought, Luke hurriedly asked, "Did he do anything excessive to you? Could it be that the wound on your face is—" Evelyn hurriedly waved her hand. "No, he didn't do anything to me. My brother values me very much. I've always known that." Luke let out a sigh of relief. The feeling that Mark gave off was too dangerous. He knew that Mark would treat Evelyn very well, but it was possible that such a dangerous fellow could do something terrifying out of impulse. This was something worth worrying about. Looking at Evelyn's troubled and confused expression, Luke felt that he was also in a difficult position. He didn't know what to say. Was it an illness? Luke thought not. Mark was healthy and independent, and it was just the weight of the truth he kept hidden. I don't know what to do. Evelyn lowered her head and said sadly, He is my brother and my only family. If his heart is twisted because of me, I don't know what to do. Luke looked at her. She was really worried about this. It was hard for Luke to tell her about the past, so he kept it from her. Now he was in a dilemma. He didn't want to see her in a difficult situation. It seemed like he needed to talk to Mark. He needed to calm her down first. How about this? Introduce me to your brother, Luke said. I used to study psychology. I'll give him some psychological guidance. Evelyn was a little hesitant. I don't know if it will work. Mark has always been against all men I know. Luke smiled gently. If you don't try, you won't be able to advance even one step. Evelyn thought about it and felt that she could not think of any good ideas other than Luke's suggestion. I'll have to trouble you then. I might need to contact you next week. Mark is not in a good mood this week. I want to wait for him to calm down before calling and asking him, Evelyn said gratefully to Luke. Luke nodded. It's fine. Just call me anytime. Luke wanted to take advantage of this time to talk to Mark about this matter. When they finished their meal, Luke thought about the design competition. Evelyn told him that she wanted to participate. They chatted for a while before Luke took her home. When they arrived at the house door, Evelyn said in embarrassment, I should be the one treating you to dinner tonight. Luke smiled. How can I let a lady treat me? I don't have many good friends in this city. I'm delighted that you could accompany me for a while. Don't mention it. I'm the one who keeps troubling you. I'm sorry, Evelyn said sincerely. Luke's heart skipped a beat at her beautiful and clear eyes. He quickly gripped the steering wheel and said, It's getting late. Go home and get some rest tonight. Okay. Luke, you should rest early too. Be careful on the way. Evelyn got out of the car and said goodbye to him. Luke drove back through the neon lights and fell into deep thought. What kind of feelings did he have for Evelyn? She was a good girl he had met when he was young. He was grateful for meeting her at that time. Did he also feel guilty about being separated from her? Or were there other mixed emotions about which he was not clear? Did he want Mark and Evelyn to develop a deeper relationship? If everything went well, they might become lovers. Luke pursed his lips and thought about the word lover, which upset him. Lovers? Did he want Mark and Evelyn to become lovers? He was confused. Holding a deep breath, Luke shook his head and muttered, It's all up to her to choose. Yes, Luke did this to ease her relationship with Mark. He did not want her to be forced into a difficult situation. In the end, it was Evelyn who needed to decide if she wanted to develop a relationship with Mark. It didn't matter what he said to Mark. He could not allow himself to do anything wrong. His original intention was to hope that Evelyn would be happy. It would not be sensible if what he did made Evelyn feel troubled. After realizing this, Luke felt that he should call Mark and ask him to meet. However, he could not get through to Mark on the phone. Luke frowned and stopped fighting it. Call him tomorrow. Mark was out of reach tonight, it seemed. Quinn admired Mark for bringing 5 people to the Jack of Hearts, but he also hated Mark. It wasn't easy for him to recognize his forces, and he planned to take them down in one fell swoop. Because of his interference, Quinn's position was in imminent danger. He had to talk to this man. And this person was demanding an outrageous price. Something must be done. The solution to this problem is straightforward. First, we will not give you the firearms. You are not allowed to pester us with this kind of thing in the future. Secondly, as compensation for making us feel pressured this time, I want 10 million in compensation. This way, I will make this matter simple. Those who cause trouble will be eliminated in your territory, and the rumors will be suppressed. 10 million? You're asking for an exorbitant price, Quinn replied, infuriated. Did this guy think he was running a bank or a street gang? How could he ask for such a large number? Mark looked at Quinn in the expressionless mask and said, This is your credit and status, and is a fair deal. Whether you want to do it or not is up to you. Mark knew that he had asked for 10 million for nothing, but he wanted it because he was in a bad mood today. Quinn had provoked him, and he deserved it. Quinn was furious, but he had no other choice. He was the one who had messed up this time. Both Harvey and Norman had advised him not to fight to the death with this man, but he refused to listen to them. Now things were getting out of hand. Quinn frowned. In the end, he sat on the chair and said hatefully, "All right, deal. But I won't admit defeat. Maybe you will next time." Mark snorted. "I don't have time to play your games. My time is precious and every day is important." Mark stood up and walked out. The yacht next to the Jack of Hearts was already here. He did not like this casino. Quinn was gnashing his teeth in anger in the room. What was there to be arrogant about? Mark was not much older than Quinn. Sooner or later, he would dig out this guy's secret and find out who he was. At that time, he would have the upper hand. The night was dark and the fog was thick. It was a sign that New York City would have a rainstorm tomorrow. That night in New Orleans, the stars were shining brightly. The private detective, Frances Harleton, looked at the completely renovated house. She raised the photo she had cut from the old newspaper in her hand. Wow, I can't see what it looked like anymore. Fortunately, this house number hasn't changed and no one lives there. With a cigarette in her mouth, Frances smiled carelessly. Found you. Episode 138, Luke Contacts Mark. Frances Harleton, the private detective, had received the search request a week ago. Someone had bought a plane ticket for her to go to New York City. She knew Zach, who worked for Harvey Cage, a big-time CEO in New York City. Zach paid a hefty sum to get her to investigate 2 people. It was just 2 kids, a hard job, but Zach's money made it worthwhile. It wasn't easy to investigate what happened more than 10 years ago. Fortunately, she persisted and finally found some clues. Many fragments appeared. Musical family, genius violin prodigies, car accidents, adopted children. One by one, fragments surfaced, and now it was time to piece them together. Now that she had made a fortune on this mission, she would settle it perfectly. Luke contacted Mark on the afternoon of the second day. He was obviously in a bad mood. Even after a day, he still did not feel good. His tone was terrible. "Why are you calling me? Are you looking for death?" Mark asked. Luke smiled bitterly and shrugged. "No, I want to live, thank you. I haven't seen the beauty of this world yet." Mark was displeased. "Why are you looking for me?" "About your sister. She asked me about you." "I want to talk to you," Luke said. Mark paused for a few minutes. His voice dropped a few degrees. "Why would she want to talk to you?" Luke said helplessly, "Because I am a kind stranger. I will not talk nonsense to her as I am not close to either of you as far as she knows. In short, if you want things to go well, you should come out and meet me. I will wait for you at the coffee shop on 5th Avenue. I have a busy day ahead, so please hurry." Mark hung up the phone. He had a lot of things to do. Once Quinn's matter was settled, he would have to deal with the remaining problems. The agitated blood in his body was already boiling because his longing could not be vented. He was about to go crazy, and the only way to avoid it was by doing something rash. After changing his clothes, Mark walked downstairs. Ray had a bad feeling when he saw his boss's clothes. He rushed over and stopped Mark at the stairs. "Boss, you can't leave now. You know there's a big event tonight with important discussions happening." Mark was unhappy about Evelyn talking to Luke about their private matter, and he was furious right now. He glanced at Ray coldly and said, "I'll be back in 2 hours. I'm very busy and I'm not in a good mood. Get out of my way if you don't want me to beat you." Ray thought for a few seconds and made his choice. He stepped aside and said, "Boss, please come back as soon as possible." Mark left without saying a word. Someone in the room snorted and laughed. "You are arrogant." Ray gritted his teeth and said, "Shut up. If the boss is so impulsive, I have to be more cautious. Only then can the organization be perfect." Even though he said that it was clear that no one believed him. Once outside, Mark rushed to see Luke. Luke looked cool and calm in the coffee shop. His demeanor did not change when he saw Mark. Mark sat down arrogantly. He took off his hat and said unhappily, "What do you mean by making the matter between my sister and me develop in a good direction? What did my sister say to you?" Luke looked at him and said, "Your sister is anxious about your feelings for her. She's afraid that she has caused her only brother's heart to be twisted. She does not know what to do, so I suggested that I give you some psychological guidance." Mark stared at him darkly and said, "I don't require any therapy." He believed he was clear-headed enough to know what he was doing about his feelings for Evelyn. Luke saw that he looked like a wild beast ready to go crazy. He sighed deeply. "That's how you scared her. You're so opposed to all the men she knows." Mark coldly curled his lips and said, "What's wrong with that? Since I love her, I naturally have to be wary of all the men around her. I have a strong possessive streak." "Such strong emotions scare her," Luke said, raising his eyebrows. "You should take a step back now and then. Only if you stop being so hysterical will she be able to calm down. I don't think you're going to tell her the truth yet, so you should make her feel at ease before you do. Don't let her think that your feelings are twisted or unnatural. I know about you, so I'm trying to help you both for the good. Please listen to my words and pretend just a while longer, allowing her to settle before you tell her the whole truth." Mark fell silent. He couldn't say it out loud, but now was not the right time to divulge all his secrets to Evelyn. But this man, Luke... "I can't trust you because you know everything. How can you swear that you will never want Evelyn for yourself?" Mark asked. Luke smiled. "I cannot swear to you such a thing," he said. "Why would I do that? No one knows what will happen in the future. I may be naive enough to want her, but the choice is yours. Do you want me to get closer to Evelyn, or do you wish not to use me to ease this tension between you? It's up to you." Luke could not say that kind of thing because he had not even fully acknowledged what he thought about Evelyn. Mark fell silent. Mark raised the corner of his lips and laughed arrogantly. "No matter how many enemies come, I will still defeat them. The things that she and I have are not things that others can replace or destroy. I accept your suggestion. Even if I become your rival one day, it doesn't matter, because I am the only one who will win her in the end." Yes, there was no need to choose anything else, as Mark could not bear to become distant from Evelyn. He wanted her, forever. Although he had said that he would not be back for a month, he would probably not be able to resist using the excuse of taking things back from the house to see her. However, it would be more convenient if he had Luke's psychological guidance. Luke nodded and said with a smile, "Okay, then your sister will probably ask you to see me next week. I hope you will be more friendly when the time comes." "No problem. I will be nice to you." Mark nodded and smiled. He took a knife from a plate of snacks and spun it in his hand a few times. He stuck it in front of Luke and said gently, "Please tell my sister not to agitate me during my therapy." Luke looked at the knife and felt his heart skip a beat. This fellow was indeed too dangerous. Luke stood outside the coffee shop. He hadn't smoked for a long time, but he felt like smoking a cigarette now. Mark, smiling and threatening him with a knife, looked scary. He could not help but wonder whether it was right or not to let such a person stay by Evelyn's side. He was undoubtedly very good to Evelyn, but he was also super dangerous. If he did not let Mark stay by her side, who would be there for her? How much of a possibility is there for him? On the way back, Mark's mood had improved slightly. Until the day when he had to tell the truth, he was determined that he would remain with her no matter what. Luke and Mark each had their thoughts. At this moment, Evelyn was dominated by a person that neither of them could imagine, an arrogant man. "It is not too difficult to treat the wound. You will recover in another week. There will be no scars as long as you continue applying the ointment." In Harvey's house, a private doctor bandaged Evelyn with new gauze. "Thank you. I appreciate your care," Evelyn said politely. The doctor smiled and nodded at her. He turned around and left. Harvey came in from outside. "Hey, Alex insists that he talk to you. He's downstairs now. Go see him." Evelyn stood up and pouted. "Don't order me around. You can at least try to be nice. Alex must be looking for me to be a model, which I've already declined." Harvey walked to her side and bent down to play with the gauze that had been tied like a rabbit's ear. "He seems very confident. He has prepared a lot of things to entice you. I dare you to tell him no again." Evelyn thought about it. If she didn't see Alex, it would be disrespectful. If the two of them worked together in the future, she would probably be held accountable for what happened today. She better be kind and see him. Evelyn stood up and said, "I will go see him." After Evelyn finished speaking, she walked out of the bedroom and headed downstairs. Harvey did not intend to disturb the two of them from discussing proper business. Alex saw her as soon as she came downstairs. He tried his best to appear very confident and said, "Miss Petal, long time no see. I brought some things that I thought you would be interested in." The corner of Evelyn's mouth twitched as she thought, Alex doesn't seem to be able to read the room. He shows a hint of timidity. She said, "I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in your things." Evelyn sat down and tried her best to be friendly to the man. Rather, I should say, I can't model these things, no matter how nicely you ask me.
Why? You are the most suitable model. The autumn clothing was designed based on your body and was inspired by you. I found a lot of models, and none of them did justice to the piece. I know you are the best candidate.
But I am not a professional, and this is an important launch that should include professional models. Besides, Alex, you should know by now that I am not interested in modeling. I only want to design clothes," Evelyn answered honestly. She did not think that she was more talented than other models. She had been in contact with this industry before, so she understood it very well. Even if she was talented, it was not enough because her heart wasn't in it. She only wanted to be a fashion designer.
I don't think it's a conflict. After becoming a model this time, you can continue to be a designer. I've learned a lot from previous experiences to bring this amazing collection to life. Several magazines have covered my works. They teach my work in colleges.
"Are you serious?" Evelyn asked. Alex saw that she was excited. He quickly honed in on her and said,
"That's right. If you agree to be a model, all of it will be yours. All the experience I have gained."
Evelyn was extremely excited. She knew that this connection could be beneficial to her. She wanted to do anything for these things. But the image of Mark appeared in her mind. He had warned her against modeling and made her promise that she would take no such projects. She had already broken a promise by responding to Timothy's feelings. Would she dare to break this promise as well? Episode 139, Harvey Coaxes Evelyn. Evelyn couldn't shrug off Mark's angry look. I still can't. Even though I am very tempted, I still can't model for you, Alex. You should go. You need to focus on finding models that will work with you, Evelyn said, and reluctantly walked upstairs. Alex did not want to give up. He said loudly,
"Think about it carefully. I know you will also participate in the autumn fashion design competition. I know you will not miss it, and working with me would give you an edge in your experience. Think about it."
After Alex finished speaking, he didn't wait for Evelyn to reject him and immediately turned toward the door. Evelyn stood and lowered her head while thinking about his words. She will compete, and Alex's campaign would provide valuable experience. Being a model, though, was just not something she could do. She turned and saw Harvey at the top of the stairs.
"You know, while in that hotel," Harvey said, "I opened the curtains and looked out. There was a huge advertisement outside." He stood at the stairs and looked at her. "I was furious, and I told Zach to remove the advertisement, but I changed my mind in the end. I went there a few nights and opened the curtains to look out the window. I looked at the advertisement and imagined who I could replace you with. I couldn't think of a single person."
Evelyn bit down on her lip, deep in thought again. Her heartbeat was very fast as she softly said, "You need to stop speaking, or I might be tempted to slap you. Don't try to confuse me, you sly man. I don't want to hear your sweet words." Harvey walked down and stood in front of Evelyn. He looked down at her and said in an enticing voice,
"Really? Don't you want to be the one I see in every corner of the city this fall?"
Oh, this was the devil's temptation. He was whispering those enticing words like promises of love. Those words were the very utterances people always wished to hear. I won't fall for it, she said to herself firmly. However, resistance seemed impossible. This kind of firm resolve couldn't overcome her surging emotions. As long as someone listened to the devil's words, they would start to have delusions and expectations. The devil was powerful because he could take away a person's soul with just his words. Holding her hands, Evelyn looked up at Harvey. "Do you want to see it? The advertisement I made?" Harvey curled his sexy lips. "Of course. I want to see you again in that room where we first met and made love. Your face is still outside the window." Evelyn's breathing was a little rough. His charming eyes were too attractive, causing her heart to skip a beat. She thought those people were right about Harvey being called Satan. He was the devil who knew how to manipulate people. She wanted to keep her promise, just to do her designs. And on the other hand, she didn't. However, she was a butterfly. She wanted to be watched by the people she liked. It was simply too tempting. "I will shoot this commercial. Although you are a big liar, there is no harm in doing so. I am going to demand higher pay than the last. I only agreed to it because I thought I could send my brother overseas to study if I had more money. Don't be arrogant." Evelyn pursed her lips. Harvey did not expose her. It was already not easy for her to agree. However, Harvey thought sending her brother abroad was not a good excuse. If his guess was correct, her brother could go wherever he wanted. She did not need to save money. Harvey was satisfied with Evelyn's decision. He held her hand and led her upstairs. "Let's watch the movie Scent of a Woman. I think you will like it. And I prepared the popcorn the way you like. By the way, will you participate in the autumn design competition?" Evelyn nodded and said, "Of course I will. It is a good opportunity. And I want to focus on designing once I'm fully resigned from the restaurant and not just on leave." It had been less than a month, and she had prepared quite a lot. If she agreed to be a model, Alex's insights would be constructive. But she still had to work hard to compete at the level she hoped. "Why do you have to work so hard? Why don't you just come straight to my company? I'll wear the trench coat you made and be sure others know you are the designer," Harvey said. Evelyn rolled her eyes. "I don't want it just handed to me. I want to earn it on my own." She didn't want Harvey to give her a position, but rather earn her way to the top on her own merits. "Stubborn woman," Harvey said. Evelyn snorted and ignored him. Harvey had other plans in mind. Since she was going to participate in the competition, he might as well go ahead and agree to be a judge. Harvey felt excited when he thought about flirting with Evelyn in front of people. "Evelyn, I'm looking forward to your stunned look when you see me on the judges panel. It will be interesting how you react." Evelyn didn't know what Harvey was thinking at all. She followed him into the room like a scared girl to watch a movie. Although she felt that watching a movie in the bedroom could be misconstrued by him, she didn't think much about it. However, Harvey had already calculated the time and arranged everything. The curtains in the room were closed. At the end of the summer, thunderstorms were still frequent. Harvey already knew that it will rain today, and he also knew that the rainy night would make Evelyn uncomfortable. Therefore, one part of the plan was to keep her in the dark about the time. Evelyn was so silly that she did not even know she had been tricked. She even seriously said to Harvey, "I will go home after watching the movie." Harvey nodded and looked like a gentleman. "Okay, I will drive you." Though inside, Harvey smiled evilly. "Go home? Do you still want to go back to that dump when you could be here in these luxurious surroundings?" On the surface, he seemed to be enjoying his time with Evelyn, but he was begging for rain inside. His phone suddenly rang. When Harvey saw that it was Zach's number, he picked up his phone and walked out of the room. "Hey, Zach, what's wrong?" It was the weekend, so there shouldn't be much going on that needed urgent attention. "Harvey!" Harvey's heart skipped a beat when he heard Zach's panicked voice. Zach was usually very calm, so he had no idea what could have caused this anxious tone. "Zach, what happened?" Harvey asked seriously. Episode 140, Masked Man with Fierce Eyes. Zach had called Harvey, and his voice was a little panicked. "Sir, my mom is sick and hospitalized. I wanted to let you know that I have to take leave tomorrow. Also, I have some clues about the Mark and Evelyn investigation.
The private detective I found asked me to meet, but the meeting place must be in New Orleans. I can't see her tomorrow afternoon, so can you send someone else? Harvey said in a deep voice. Take good care of your mother. Don't worry about anything else. Thank you, sir. Zach thanked him tiredly and hung up the phone. Harvey frowned and looked out of the window. It was raining quite heavily. Harvey looked at the weather outside, but he was no longer in a good mood as earlier. He always felt that everything in this world was constantly changing. Even someone as calm as Zach had a family and was nervous about losing someone close. He suddenly thought of his own family. At least, the one he had before. Once upon a time when he was sick, family members had been concerned for him. Harvey turned around and opened the door to go back into the bedroom. Evelyn saw him come in and was about to say something, but realized that something was wrong. She blinked her eyes and asked softly, "Did something happen?" Harvey walked to her side and suddenly hugged her from behind. He asked, "When I was sick, were you worried?" Evelyn felt that something had happened on that call, making Harvey a little different from before. He seemed to be giving off a strong sense of loneliness. Evelyn stiffened and asked, "Why are you suddenly asking such a strange question?" Harvey put his head on her shoulder and said, "I want to know." Evelyn blinked her eyes. Her gaze was still on the movie, but she answered honestly, "Of course I was worried. I'm human. And you were in pain." He bit Evelyn's shoulder, causing her to grunt. "Ah, that hurts!" Harvey raised his eyebrows. "Who told you to talk nonsense?" Harvey said, but he wrapped his arms around Evelyn's trim waist. Evelyn leaned into his arms and rubbed against his black hair. Evelyn curled her lips and said, "Actually, to be honest, when you got sick, I originally thought that you were tricking me. But when I went down to cook, I heard from the people below that they did not let anyone near your room when you were sick. And then I got really worried. I wondered why you were sick and not allowed to be taken care of. But I was allowed to enter the room. There was so much she didn't know about him." Harvey hugged her tightly. He rarely talked about the past, but he suddenly wanted to tell her. He wanted to talk about his past pain. What would she do if she knew? "Because whenever I was sick when I was young, no one would care about me. Only the doctor was allowed. I stayed in my room alone and listened to people walking outside, but no one came in to take care of me. At that time, I relied on myself. When sick, people become weak. I hate being weak, and I don't want people to see my weakness. But you," Harvey kissed her hair and murmured, "I told them you were special." Evelyn's ears were red. The use of the word special made her heart beat faster. In other words, when he was sick, he would only show his weakness to her? In that case, was she truly special? Biting her lower lip slightly, Evelyn softly said, "You say such nice things, trying to bewitch me. This word special makes it more interesting to order around." Evelyn gently held his hand. Her slender and soft fingers gently clasped his large hand, and she said softly, "The next time you are sick, call me. I will take care of you." Harvey's heart suddenly sped up, and his dark pupils contracted. Ah, yes, is that the reaction? Not pity, not anger, but warmth and gentleness. "You'll take care of me." "Evelyn, I knew you were special." Grabbing Evelyn's hand tightly, Harvey pulled her to him instantly. Evelyn lost her balance and fell into the soft bed. She cried out in surprise, "Ah!" What was he doing? Harvey was already on top of her, looking down at her. He grabbed his shirt by his waist, pulled the V-collar from his head and said firmly, "Do it." There was a sexy mermaid lying in his line of sight, and Evelyn's face turned red. "Crazy? Get out of my way!" Evelyn yelled. She was crazy to be alone with Harvey, this wild beast. He said they would just watch a movie. Harvey put his hands on her struggling hands and leaned over to her. "It's your fault. You said something adorable again. You'll take care of me if I'm sick, right?" His smile was devilishly charming. Evelyn was so angry that her face flushed. "I did say that, but what are you doing now? Have you lost your mind? I can't take care of this illness. You'll have to go to the madhouse." Harvey narrowed his eyes and said in a hoarse voice, "I'm sick down there. It's a little painful. Please take care of me." "Oh, you're shameless. You're obscene."
Evelyn's cheeks were red, and she bit her red lips angrily. Harvey leaned over and kissed her. He smiled evilly and said, "It's still the same as before. Your words are perfect, but lethal to my will to turn you away from me. Please don't say anything else. These beautiful cherry lips wait for me to kiss you," Harvey said as he kissed her lips. It was hot, and she couldn't get used to it no matter how many times he kissed her. Evelyn was angry at this guy's audacity and willfulness. She was also mad at herself for being easily bewitched. There was a sweet smell in the air. Evelyn was soft under Harvey, like a flower that could be crushed easily. Harvey was careful, afraid that he would damage the flower. He also wanted to treat her hard and let the flower know for whom she would bloom. In the beginning, Evelyn still wanted to resist, thinking that she had to go home. There might be rain today. Would Mark call her, or would he come home? Some messy things flashed through his mind, and her consciousness became blurry. When she woke up again, she looked at the clock in the room. It was already 7 o'clock. Harvey was not in the room. The light in the room had been turned off, and it was dark. She vaguely heard a rumbling sound. Evelyn's heartbeat sped up, and she wrapped herself tightly under the blanket. Evelyn got up unconsciously and walked towards the window. She had to go home. Outside it should be raining, but it shouldn't be that bad. Evelyn went to the window and felt a chill on her fingertips. She took a deep breath and told herself to calm down. It would be too embarrassing if she couldn't even handle this little rain. Mark had already found someone to treat her, so she should be fine. Evelyn told herself she would be okay as she reached out to pull open the curtains. Along with a thunderous boom, a bolt of lightning flashed in her direction. A vision suddenly appeared in Evelyn's mind. A man with a face mask drove past her. The man inside had a fierce look in his eyes. The car flipped over, and there was blood everywhere. The rain was mixed with blood. As she screamed, Evelyn fell to the ground and kept trying to make the sight vanish from her mind. Harvey was in the study when he heard the scream. He quickly threw down the phone and rushed out of the study and down the hall. He ran into the bedroom and saw Evelyn shivering under the blanket on the floor. Harvey looked out the window and cursed under his breath as he quickly made it to her side. "Evelyn, I'm here. Don't be afraid. Look at me. It's okay." Harvey rushed over and stopped next to Evelyn. He looked at the curtains that were still open. Harvey hurriedly pulled the curtains closed before he turned around and hugged Evelyn. Evelyn's body was trembling. Harvey picked her up and carried her onto the bed. He held her face and forced her to look at him. "Evelyn, look at me. Look at me well. You're fine now. Don't be afraid." Evelyn looked at him and met his star-like eyes. Her pale face relaxed slightly. She stretched out her hand and threw herself into Harvey's arms. She said incoherently, "I saw a strange scene. A scary person was staring at me. He was wearing a mask." Harvey's heart trembled, and he asked gently, "Did you remember the freak from that night?" Evelyn shook her head. "No, that person was driving. And the scene in the vision seems to be the scene of my parents' accident. Rain. Drifting rain. What happened at that time? I can't remember clearly. It's so messy. I can't remember." Harvey hugged her tightly and stroked her hair to comfort her. "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It's all in the past. Don't think about it if you can't remember." She leaned into Harvey's arms and absorbed his warmth. Evelyn did not know what exactly was in her mind. She never remembered seeing the man with the fierce eyes. And the accident. Was she there when her parents were in a car accident? Why was she confused? She supposedly wasn't there, but she rushed there later. Why did she have the illusion that she was there when the car accident happened? Who was the man in a mask with fierce eyes Evelyn saw in her vision?